Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, George.
Hello. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing okay, bro. Yes.
Just had my breakfast. Are you at home?
Yes, I am. What about you?
Having some fun alone. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Inicial.
Good. Hello, Teacher Hardin.
Hello, how are you?
Doing okay. I'm doing fine. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Hello there.
Thank you.
Hello.
Can you hear me, guys?
No, I can hear everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
Morning.
My goodness, good morning, man.
Cha-cha.
Morning.
You all look good.
Oh, thanks.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Hey, ho.
Hi. I'm waiting for all 28 to come back so that we can start.
Okay.
I have 24
Okay.
so far. 25, 26, 27.
Hello, everyone.
Who's Leopoldo?
George,
Good morning.
Leopoldo, that's me, Osvaldo Suarez.
Oh,
Oh.
I can.
Yes, I told you that I have problems with the computer, so.
I'll try right now. You'll see.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. You can see the screen. Okay.
Yep.
So we're good
Very
to go.
clear.
Awesome. So whenever you start, just click on recording before. Yeah. I'm here.
Good
that's a nice
morning,
spot.
Mr. Urtecho. Where are you? Who is that with that background?
Yes.
Oh, that's me.
Efren. Oh, it's Efren. Okay.
Oh, darling.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start by very respectfully muting everyone. Let's see. Okay, so thank you very much for your patience and for waiting almost half an hour for the meeting to start. Well, this meeting is, just to recap, to show you guys the guidelines that we have been given by the university for our online classes to take place. The guidelines that you will see today are, in a nutshell and to be very honest, mandatory. They are the indicator for us to be able to report your hours. So the way we're going to do it is that Fabian is going to explain everything. At the end, if you have questions, and I'm sure you will, ask them, and we will clarify as much as possible. So I will give the control to Fabian so that he can explain everything in the way that only he knows he can. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope, and thank you everyone for being in this meeting. I'm going to start explaining very quickly. I know that some of you joined this class over the weekend and you had the chance to see the new aspects that we are going to be putting into practice from now on. So this is a model class. The teacher is John Smith, and students, it's you, actually, the whole team. So in all of your classrooms, you will have to create a topic named Universidad Americana -1 in capital letters. This will be the very first topic in all of the classrooms. In this topic, or within this topic, you're going to add a material. You know that you do that by clicking in create, on create, and material. So this material will be named as Misión y Visión, capital letters as well. And you're going to add this text, which actually is the mission and vision of the university. After this meeting, you will receive an email with this paragraph, so you can just copy and paste. The second topic in this particular order will be the syllabus. And it's also a material, as you can see the icon. And what you have to do is just add or link the syllabus that you have access to this material. You know that you can do that just by clicking on create material, and then where it says add, you click on Google Drive, and then you just find the syllabus, and it will be just like this. In this case, this is the syllabus of level 1. The next topic, which is the most interesting, it is the agenda. This is the title that it has to have, okay? It's not like task to do or anything. It has to be agenda with the word in capital letters, and it has to have the date for the week of work. In this example, it's March 23rd to March 27th. And this is the structure that we have to follow to the letter. First, the subcompetences and content. This is taken from the syllabus. As you can see, this is a model, so don't mind the fact that it says Unit 1. So, but it has to go like this: Unit 1, the title of the unit, and the subcompetence that your students will develop within this week. You know that in our syllabus, there are 2 subcompetences per unit. So in this week, students may develop this subcompetence, and in the following 2 weeks, they may develop part of this subcompetence or the second subcompetence. And it has to be stated just as it is from the syllabus, just copy and paste. And it's also material, the type of content. The second subtopic within the agenda topic is resources for the week. In here, this is what we suggest, and this is how it should be done. You know, and we know that we use a lot of resources on the web, like Agenda Web, to have our students practice intensively, and we can continue doing so. But the links to those websites must be included within this topic, resource for the week. Now, in order to gather the evidence that our students are doing practice, in the past, we used to have them send us screenshots of the completed exercise, and that it's okay. But in this case, we're gonna do it like this. First of all, you have to create a folder on your Google Drive named Portfolio. And it's like that because the idea is that we are gonna have our students create and feed a digital portfolio with all the evidence of the practice that they have or they will do. Let me open the folder so you can see what I'm talking about. So I open the folder, and this folder takes me to a document that in this case has the name of a fictitious student, Jessica Lance. If I open this portfolio of Jessica, we see the title, digital portfolio, and it says this portfolio will collect the evidence of your practice per week, name of the student, level, and group. So, and then we have the subtopics per week. So within this space, between the first and the second week, students will add the screenshots of the practice that they have done, and also recordings if you assign recording as practice, or video recordings, or whatever you have assigned as practice. This is pure practice. These are not assignments. Keep in mind that this evidence is going to be taken into account for the column that it says estudios independientes or independent studies in the grade chart. So this portfolio is going to be valid for the rest of the semester as if we're still online, I guess. And regardless of being online or not, you can still use it as a great tool to collect evidence throughout the semester until the last week, which is from June 1st to June 5th, if necessary. So this is something that your student have to do, not you. You just provide this template and they just keep on adding their evidence. And because these files will be in the folder that you are going to create, you will have full access to check progress of this portfolio exercise. Going back to the classroom. The next subtopic within the agenda, March 23rd to March 27 is learning guide for this week. And this is the heart of the week. I will open the file now. And this is the front page. So we don't change much here except for the date and the number of the week, the subject, and the group number. And at the bottom, the teacher's name. This is a fictitious name, John Smith. On the second page, we need to add the following items. The unit that we are working on, in this case, nice to meet you. The content. The content is taken from the syllabus. Let me open one of the syllabus so you will see what I'm talking about. Let me open the syllabus that is in here, which is level 1. So in the learning guide, when it says content, what you are going to take is in the suggested activities for learning, you copy and paste the topics on this column that it says contenidos. So these are the topics that are going to be taken, and they're going to be put where it says content, only for this week, of course. After that, in the next item, which is the third, you are going to add the subcompetence for this week that is also taken from the syllabus, as you will know. And then the resources. Now, these resources will be used for the very specific learning activities that you are going to grade in this week. In this example, there are 3 resources: video, the textbook, the book that they bought, and a reading. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so in number 5, we have the explanation, so to speak, the directions of what students are going to do in each of the learning activities that they are going to submit by the end of the week, we suggest. For example, in order to develop the subcompetence, you will work on the following tasks and resources. Learning activity number 1, resource, video. So this resource is the one that we previously referred in the resources section. So it has to be coherent at that extent. Video, the S in the simple present, and there's a video here for students to watch. Approximate length, 60 minutes, but this can vary, right? Depends on the complexity of the task. And the due date, March 27. Directions. This part is critical because students must be very clear of what they are going to do while working on their own. So as clear as possible we must be in order to have our students succeed in completing the task. So I'm not going to read this because this is just an example. But it's good to point out the fact that even though we can, even though we added the link of the video in here, we do it again here. Redundant sometimes is not that bad, specifically when clarifying directions. For example, it says here, use Google Translate to listen the sentence and imitate. So I think we can make things easier for students if we add the links to the tools that we are asked them to use. And then it comes the part of assessment tool. How am I going to assess this activity that I am proposing? In this example, a rubric. And then we have to explain the achievement indicator. And it says the students are able to flexibly pronounce the S when using the third person in affirmative sentences. And the task is write and record the sentences. So after that, we explain the learning activity number 2. And again, we explain or we describe the material that they are going to use, the length, and the due date. And again, directions of what they are going to do. The assessment tool we are going to use to grade the activity, the achievement indicator or the SWOT, basically. And in this case, I incorporated directly the rubric here so students can see how they are going to be assessed. And then the activity number 3, the same structure, resources, approximate length, due date, and the directions. Once again, the assessment tool is going to be a rubric, and the achievement indicator is going to be this, and the rubric is presented within the learning guide. Now, the number of activities is going to be based on the amount of content that you are going to teach. In this example, we are suggesting 3 activities, but I do believe that for the course teachers, this is just my personal point of view, there might be more than 3 activities because they are getting 15 hours of teaching per week. But our undergraduate students are just receiving 6 hours. So you have to balance it out at the end of the day. So this is basically the lesson plan, but it's more than a lesson plan. This is something that the university has instructed to do because it's a very comprehensive lesson plan that not only include the SWOT and activities, but also the subcompetences and the resources that we are going to use. And it's mandatory, as Hope was explaining, that we must keep the structure just as it is, not adding or not subtracting items other than those that are presented in this template. The only thing that is going to change is the amount of learning activities that we are going to propose for the week to work. And going back to the classroom, after the learning guide for this week, there is a forum section. Let me explain to you what this is. This is basically a link that take your students to a chat room that is linked to your Google Drive, where students are going to debate and discuss on topics related to the content that you are teaching. This is mandatory as well. And to create this chat room, this is something very easy. By being on your Google Drive, you click on the apps icon and you click on chat. And within this app, you create a room by clicking on this section that it says create room. You give it a name like I did, level 1 group 30. And then you start adding your students or inviting your student. And then you propose just a topic and instruct your students to debate and reply and exchange ideas around that topic. This is a weekly exercise, of course. And after the forum, finally, we have the 3 learning activities assignments that we explained in the learning guide, but in this case is where students are going to actually work around. So basically, I copy and paste the directions that I wrote in the learning guide. and I put them in here. But this time I also added the links to the resources that they need in order to complete the task, like the SpeakPipe website, Google Translate website, the video in which students learn about the S at the end of the verbs in the third person conjugation, and the worksheet where they are going to work around this topic. In the second learning activity, which is speaking, I also added the instructions and the access to the SpeakPipe so they can record and send me the link. And the third activity, which is reading and speaking, I also added the directions, as you can see, very specific with the page, with the number of the page in the textbook, or the pages 34 and 35. Because this is level 1, the idea is to use a simple language and the access to SpeakPipe. There is a due date. In this case is March 27, as you can see. Wait. Okay, so it's due March on 27, and that's it. And then after you complete the agenda for March 23rd to March 27, you start working on the agenda for March 30th to April 3rd with the same structure in the same order, not with the same number of learning activities maybe, but just like that. Now the forum will be the same. It's the same link that you created once. You don't have to create a chat forum per week. That would be not possible. And what it changes, it's also the subcompetence if it's necessary, depending on what part of the week you are, or the unit you are, I'm sorry. And the other aspect that changes is resources for this week. Well, this is empty because this is just the skeleton for the next week, and so on. And this is gonna be done all one and over again until we come back to the physical classrooms. Right, Hope?
That's right.
Okay. Now, teachers, thank you for listening. I hope I was as clear as possible. However, please ask your questions, and here the team will try to give you the answers.
I have a question. I was actually, good morning, everyone. I was actually checking this on Saturday, and can you please go to the resources of the week, please, and open the portfolio. My question is very simple. What is going to happen with the flow of students? Because if they copy this, I mean, if they post it there, I lose track of who posted what. I don't know if it's a more convenient way to do it. Uh, because if you open an assignment, for example, and you just leave it like empty with no deadline, students can actually put each of their screenshots there, and you follow the I mean, you can follow up on the student better because you will have the student portfolio with their name in an individual component in the drive. I don't know if I'm making myself clear with this question. Isn't it better?
Who's speaking? Mr.
It's me,
Lopez.
Jose.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez, this is the thing. The thing is that this is how university understands it. Let me just go back to the classroom. Okay. The difference between resources and assignments, you know this very well, is that assignments must be graded. So if you open an assignment in which students will add the screenshots, then you must return this with a grade. However, university says that instead of that, free practice should be sent as resources like this with the links. So our question was with the team, how can we gather the evidence that our students are actually doing those exercises? Because we are not going to have them as assignments. Well, the idea that we came up with was using a portfolio. Now,
Yes.
this portfolio, this folder that you're looking at, this is a folder that will exist in your drive, not in our drive. This is something that you create, you, Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
and you
No,
share
I
this.
know, I know.
Okay.
But
So,
this is my question. I don't know
uh-huh.
if you get my point. My point is the following. If I do that, if
Yeah.
you just go back to classwork, please.
Yes, just give me a moment.
Yes,
Okay,
don't worry.
classroom.
If you open an assignment, please, teacher.
An assignment, yes.
Yes.
Any,
One that includes
the
Google Docs.
first.
Yes. If you see, when you can you edit the learning activity number one, because you're gonna get one copy for each student. When you have a copy for each student, I
Yeah.
better track my students' progress in relation to assignments. I mean that are not graded. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but what worries me is to have this amount of screenshots on a Google Doc, which I
Uh-huh.
don't know who uploaded what. If I'm
Well, this
going to
is,
grade this as self-study, if you're going to grade this as self-study, who posted what? So I can give a proper follow-up on the student. That's what worries me.
yes,
I
yes,
understand the rest, and I totally
correct.
get the rest. I mean,
Yeah,
but the follow-up there will be a little bit more difficult.
we see
Now,
your point.
if you open it as an assignment that is ungraded, you don't need to actually grade the student on the document, but you have students with a separate document. And then you can follow up. For example, I can say, I'm gonna check Karina's paper, and I check Karina has uploaded 3 out of 5, but Roberto hasn't uploaded anything. So it's easier for me to follow up on the student. You see my point?
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Now we see your point.
The difference and the reason why we are doing it this way and not the way that you are proposing, Josue, is because when we assign teachers exercises, they're usually not just one or two. There are many that are not precisely evaluated. So if you start creating an assignment, even if it's not evaluated per task, you are going to have many of these to oversee, even if they're not evaluated. So what we had thought of, and for it to be more like clean, is for it to all go to the same place, which is what Fayam was showing you, the portfolio, which is per student. Here you're going to have one per student and per week, just with the screenshots of each one. So that way you don't have a different tab for each of the resources that you assigned. My question is, does that clarify your question? Was that your doubt?
No. My dad was. I mean, I understand your point, but this is the thing. We're going to duplicate. I mean, we're going to have, for example, if I have a classroom with 21 students, I'm going to copy paste 21 times, so I get an independent document for each student. But everyone, when they're going to
Um,
go to the classroom file, let me just finish with this, please. Then I forget. Students will go to the file, but they will open just the master one, the one that I opened for them. I don't know if you see my point. I insist if this is something that it's going to go into GradeStart as an evidence of self-study, I, as a teacher, would prefer to have my students to have independent documents, so their screenshots are, I already planned for a full week. I know that I have 5 activities that are not graded, but that can be considered for independent study. So I open, for example, Alejandra's document, and I can see that out of 5, she did 3. Although I'm not going to give her a grade, I am keeping track of my students' compliance. You see my point?
Thank you, Mr.
Mhm.
Lopez. Yes. Okay, so let me go. Let me go and give you a different perspective. Okay. Okay. Number one, the idea that we have in our mind that we see is when we open this folder, me as a teacher, there will be, let's say, 21 files, and each file for each of the students. Okay, number one. Number two, you don't have to make 21 copies.
Mhm.
Uh, was that hope? Okay.
Okay, I get it. But
So,
again, I
okay,
insist,
now
everyone
this,
will upload documents.
no,
Everyone
well,
will upload,
yes,
they will upload a
only once,
screenshot.
only one time. No, the
Yes,
document is gonna be permanently on the folder. They will access to the folder, right? And they will keep on adding the screenshots. Now,
in a single document.
on a single document. So in this
Okay,
case,
how do you know? How do you know who uploaded what?
Since every folder will have the student's name, well, me as a student, I don't have to open any other file but mine. And in my file, I add the screenshots of the exercise that I completed. Does that make sense, Mr. Lopez? Just me as a student, I open the file that has my name. Let's say I'm Jessica,
Okay.
so I open my file. And because I'm working on the week from March 30th to April 3rd, here in this blank space, I add the screenshots of the exercises I was asked to do. And if I had to add a recording, I also add the link. Everything within this blank space. Does that make sense to you?
Okay. That's okay.
Hello, guys. Good morning. I have just a comment about that. Can I just say something? This is Jose Rodriguez.
Yes, mister. Go ahead.
Okay. The problem that I see with this is that, I know students are not supposed to enter someone else's folder, but they can open the folder and they can copy the screenshot and just put it in their, folder without doing the assignment. And we have no proof of that. And in the end, we have no proof if the students were the one who did the exercises and learn from that. And especially since we're giving them 10 points, for me, it's just like if we're giving 10 points away.
Well, that's a very good point of view, Mr. Lopez. But I think
Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, I'm sorry. But I think also we have to have a very initial talk with our students. I think that they have to understand the ethics and values regarding working online and respecting everyone else's property. And if they do it, I mean, how can we control that? And
hi, I'm sorry, Mr. Gonzalez. I'd like to add something in that part. Good morning, everyone. This is Joanska.
Good morning.
Morning.
And Jose, also the idea of the portfolio is more on the scaffolding part we were discussing last time during the meeting. And I know that we cannot really prevent students are copying or not, but I think that the most important part is to pay attention to the learning assignments that they will have to submit that are graded, because they are supposed to be meaningful. They are supposed to measure what the students were practicing before. They have a rubric, and therefore we can control the outcomes through those three activities. If they copy or paste, if they cheat on something, then that's difficult to manage it. But I think that's those three exercises, at least the ones we have as an example to be graded, are the ones that will tell you the truth on the students' performance or improvements. That's why we're providing certain tools so students can record themselves, or they can write on something. Even you can access, for example, to check their writing with this, how do you call this? There is a website that I'd like to share with you a little bit later once I remember what it's called, but it's for checking if they made plagiarism. I think it's plagiarism.com. So you can use that one also to check on the writing, and this tool will show you how many of the things the student have written were copied and from what resources also. So this we can share it later if that will help you feel more comfortable in getting students homework, and also being more resourceful in terms of finding out how authentic their outcomes are as well. I hope this helps you a little bit.
Thank you very much,
Jenny Harding here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Miss. Good morning.
Hello. For those that they want to check if their students, went into other people's files and just copy pasted, you can tell your students that they're not allowed to go into other people's files, and there's a viewer section in each document that you can check, and you can tell them since the beginning. There's a viewer section there, and if I see that you went into another person's file, you'll get a 0. That's it. Each document has a viewer section.
Landa Verde here. One of the solutions I can come up with, if this would happen, is just to share the document, the exact document, with the exact students, so they don't have access to the folder, which are all of the document, but just to the document they're going to edit.
That could be, I understand Mr. Landaverde's idea. It's the other way around. Students create their folder in their drive and they share with the teacher, the link, not the file. So every students keep the file on their drive, and you as teacher just have access to the link. That it's just a different way to do that as well.
Or as well, we can just create a template, and then we share it with the students, like to edit. It will be like I am as a teacher and the student have the chance to edit the same document, and just the two of us, and that would happen for all of the students.
Yes, it is, absolutely. Now, keep in mind, teachers, that we are going to provide a template for the learning guide for every week, and also the template for the portfolio. Yes.
I would like to add something on the last part Landaverde said, which I consider it's probably good to put into practice. So if students are inviting us to join their folders, I would say that we could still keep this part of the portfolio active. So they use it as the same way to access to the portfolio, and every time we give them the resources for the week. I don't know what that sounds to you.
But I still believe that I think it's part of our job to educate our students to respect everyone else's property online, because that's what we do when we are working, right? We share a lot of things with you and you with us. And I have never seen someone else modifying or deleting grade charts or attendance or the like, because we understand that that's not correct to do. I mean, we were educated not to do so. So I think it's also part of our job to do the same with our students now that we have the chance to be online.
Hello guys. I understand your point and I think it's clear, but I have another question. I want to change grill here. I saw that there is a part of the syllabus and we need to upload the syllabus. My question goes in regards to, syllabus that are incomplete, because I was checking yesterday and, like level 5 syllable for the semesters is still incomplete. Also for the post centers is still incomplete. So what is going to happen? Are we going to load it the way it is? Or can we just receive some kind of input here, please?
What is going to happen, Mr. Rodriguez, is that we are going to speed up the completion of this syllabus within the following days. So you can have the raw material to copy and paste in the learning guide for this week.
Okay, got you. Thank you very much.
Hello, guys.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Lemon.
If when you go into the sample classroom you created in Google Class, there are some of them that are in gray and some of them that are in blue. Do you know why the icon is different? Is it because some of them are saved as draft and so students don't need to see that? And so that's what I ask in the chat. I think basically students only need to pay attention to the forum, learning activity 1, learning activity 2, and learning activity 3, and the resources for the week, right? So the rest of them, can we keep them as drafts? So the Language Center is the only one who can see those, or how does that work?
I cannot see those things in gray, can you?
Yeah, they seem to be gray for me, the ones that say subcompetence and content, resource for the week, learning guide for this week, and forum, and they stay like that when the whatever you posted is as a draft and not posted directly for the students who see it. So I was wondering that. I mean, if I put all of this into the week, wouldn't it be confusing for the students? So should we keep those as drafts so you are the only ones who can see them and not them?
No, in this case, everybody, remember that this is not being only done by the language center. This is going to be done in every single one of their subjects. So from what we heard, this is, students should be able to see all of it. The most important parts
Okay.
though are the guide, and then where you have the learning activities where they have to post their assignments and their resources. Those are the most important parts, but they should be able to have full access to all of this. So
Okay.
what you're seeing in the screen right now, what Fabian is sharing with you, is what they should be seeing too.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
Hello,
This,
can you hear me now?
Hello.
Yes, the question I had, this is Mr. Techo, by the way. The question I had is regarding the resources for the week. Going back to the topic, right? I was wondering if we have to add one file for every student, or because that's the way I see it there in the portfolio section. So is that the teacher who has to, um, create a document and send and give permission to the student to edit it, or what is the way we're going to do it?
That's the original idea, Mr. Urtecho. The original idea is you as the teacher create the folder,
Mm-hmm.
name portfolio, and I guess the level and the group number. Inside the folder, students will see a file with their name, and there is where they are going to upload or to copy and paste the evidence of their practice. That's the idea.
Got it. That's one question. And the other question I have for you guys is the deadline for us. I mean, because I see there's a lot to do here. And since we're just getting the information today, I was wondering how much time we're going to be given to comply with all these.
the idea is that after this meeting, you guys start planning using this format. So remember that this is planning for the full week, so it doesn't necessarily have to be done today. But I do ask you to please start planning with this so that they can have things to work on
Yes.
immediately.
Okay, this is one thing that just came to my mind because I already started actually planning for this week, and since my students were actually pending on what I was going to say about this week's lesson, and especially today, I already started actually giving them assignments. So I already included some content basically. So that means that I have to include the content I just assigned to them today,
That's
plus
right.
whatever else I add to the lesson. That case.
Correct. Yeah. Whatever you
Now,
have already assigned, incorporate it into this format.
okay. Now the other thing is that since it is a weekly plan, right, from what I can see, and that's what I understood. So should I give my students a specific deadline or due date in terms of specific, assignments? I don't know if you get my point or my question.
Yes. The deadlines you mean for each assignment?
Uh-huh.
That could be depending on the assignment. I mean, it could be, I don't think that they should all be for the same day. They could be
Okay.
half and half. That depends on you. What I just wouldn't suggest is putting everything for the same date. Remember what we were talking about in the meeting about them procrastinating and leaving it all towards the end.
Yeah.
That was my point, because I mean, if I give them like I just did today, actually, I assigned there's one actually activity that I'm going to use to measure, the outcome of all these practice and everything they did today, and the due date is basically today, right? But they were actually saying that it was just overwhelming because they had a lot of other classes to take, and they also had assignments there, and yada yada yada. So I was thinking that maybe I can give them an extra day or a few extra days during the week for them to comply with the assignments, right? Or everything they have to comply with.
That's
So that's
right.
why I asked.
No, that's okay, and that's up to you as a teacher. It's the same as in the classroom. The reason why we have this here per week is that we, as a language center, we are going to go into each of your files, into each of your classrooms, and check the content per week. And that's another reason why we don't have so many activities here directly, because we, as a language center, have to check on the ones that you are giving them to be evaluated. And if you have this and non-evaluated, for us it's going to be a bit more confusing to go inside and check what is what. So that, I think that that is the reason behind this type of order, that it's in a weekly manner, so that students can have a mindset of what they are going to be doing per week, not just for English, for everything. And us as a university, we can also have the structure of reporting those hours per week.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Good morning. This is Osvaldo Suarez speaking. You know, I have one question. Well, actually, a couple of questions in regards of the layout. The thing is that, you know, I don't know if you, your team took the time to check everyone's, every teacher's classroom before this. You know, well, I have prepared mine, like from the calendar to everything, you know, and then from unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, before we started the classes.
Yeah, we saw.
So if you guys take a look at that layout, is a lot. There's a lot of things, you know, and it's a bit confusing if you don't explain to students, you know, to some students. Now, in regards to the new one, the new layout that you just displayed, and then it's very clear to me, are we supposed to mount this new one into the one that we already had, or how can we do it, you know? Because, you know, I see, if I were a student, I would see a lot of things, you know, in there.
You are going to start using this format as of now. Whatever you had before, you can leave it the way it was. That doesn't mean that you have to go back and transform everything you already had. But from this week on, it should be under this format.
Okay, yes, I see that point. I know that. But am I supposed to mount it right there into mine, the one that I had?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I see a lot of things right there. I see too many things. Or, I don't know, you tell me, you know.
Are you talking about this one or yours?
Yeah, mine and the one that you just showed us, you know, because both should be together. Mine is going to be actually left
Like
out
this?
because, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that mine is going to be left out, but if I put yours into mine, it's going to be a lot of things, you know, to see. And, well, that's my question.
I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm sorry. Are you telling me that you already have, I saw your classroom and you have it divided
Yes.
per unit. So that means that you already planned for all the units?
Yes, I had all the things, you know, per units. And each unit had to, like, you know, materials, handouts, and many things, you know, quiz 1, quiz 2, etc., etc.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Joanska had a similar problem. She's going to show you and give you an example of how she did it.
All right, thanks.
Right,
that was my question.
Yeah, the thing is that I started late, so probably it wasn't much of a problem for me, but still I think it's valid to show you my example.
Okay, please. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
You see it now?
Yes, I can see that.
Right, so what I want to show you specifically is what I already had. So if you go to the bottom part of my page, what you can see here is the new unit that I am supposed to be teaching, which is unit 2, what do you do? So what I did was just to move what I had at the beginning from unit 1 to the bottom part.
All right.
That's what I did, basically. So students forget about what I have already done with them and they can pay attention to what's new in here.
Okay.
I didn't eliminate it because obviously I need to keep the record of what I have done. But in the part of the unit 2, I just stopped adding exercises and I just put it right after at the bottom. So I moved basically the things to the bottom of the page. That's it. and then I
Okay.
added the new things. So in this case, if you already have more things for the unit 2 for this week, probably what you could do is just to feed the part of the learning guide, add in this exercises, at least just as the titles of the things they have to submit as of now. And later you add the new content to the same learning guide, and you put specifically in the learning activities what they are supposed to submit within the new format. Does that answer your question, mister?
Yes, yes, very clear. Thank you, Miss Rojas.
You're
I
welcome.
have
Thank you.
one more question. What about the grade chart? Last meeting we had, you told us the grade chart wouldn't have any changes, right? But then we have 3 learning activities per week. How are we going to assess those? As quizzes, or where should we put those in the grade chart? Because what I believe is that students will still have to be evaluated on their writing tasks, their projects, and 2 quizzes. But then we have 3 activities per week. Should we put those in homework along with platform, or?
Hi, Miss. I think it's pretty much what Hope mentioned before. This is
Okay.
just a sample. You could have even 4 learning activities. So let's imagine that the learning activity number 1 is the achievement test. So after you have them practice during the week in the portfolio and you check their progress, then also remember that you have them do homework in the open mind. So all of this will zoom up, let's say, to what students are supposed to do. The learning activity number 2 could be called a final project of the unit, and you can add an extra tab for the one that is on the achievement tests of the unit. So the learning activities you want to assess most likely are also building up, let's say, the ladder to reach the final project and to reach the rest of the assessments that you are supposed to carry out according to the grade chart we have as of now.
So one of them could
have,
be like students' preparation for their final project, because their final project, writing task, and achievement test, it's in the 3rd week. So for the first 2 weeks, we can have like
Quizzes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, so those will be in quizzes. That's
Exactly.
where
There you
we're going
go.
to
Pop
put it in
quizzes
the,
can be reflected here as well. That's okay.
If they are there, just want to remind you that they should also be in the learning guide for the week. That should be also specified. As Mr. Gonzalez said, it feels redundant at a certain point, but as the more redundant, I think for them, the better, because that way they see that they are on the right path.
And what about the final tests for each unit? Are we still having those? I don't know.
Yes.
Are we still using the Wixie platform? Are we, or everyone is working on their own tests?
From what, no, from what I have understood, you're still going to be using the Wix site. And what you could do is whenever they have a test, you can put the link in the guide. And then you just add that grade to the grades chart. Because it's not a separate assignment per se.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention something about that, because I know that some students were having access to the password, and this is probably for teachers who were not using Wixie before. You can access Wixie, you can access the test, you can open it and copy and paste that link once the test is open. So students, what they get, it's the test as well. They don't have to use a password, because if they get the password, well, they're able to look at the other test.
Wow, okay, so then that's why we constantly change the password.
Exactly, but if you give them the password, because I know some of them were getting it and they were taking a look at the other tests. When you go into the Wixie platform and then you put the password and then you access the test, you open it, and that's the link you send them. That way they don't have to input the password. They can open the test right away.
From the link.
Yes,
from the link you send them.
Yeah,
that's right. That is correct, Ms. Aleman. That is a week within this platform. But now that, as I understand, many of you teachers are already getting very strong at using Google Forms, which I believe is a very strong tool as well. So I do think that if we come to an agreement, we can perfectly migrate the achievement test to Google Forms. And I think that by using Google Forms, we can avoid this easy way to access the content. Just we share the link and that's it.
Yeah,
The
but
thing is that the only thing is that sometimes I think there are some questions that are not like easy to reproduce on Google Forms.
Yeah, that's one thing. And the other thing is that I think the students still can get like feedback and they will be able to see the answers. I'm not sure if there is an option in the settings where they're not allowed to see that and they can just get their grade.
On Google Forms, there is an option that in which you can use to turn off the correct answer to see.
Okay.
But the big obstacle that I find on Google Forms is the type of question that is very limited.
Yes.
In in comparison to Wix, which we can use different ways to ask the questions.
I have a question. When it comes to the evaluations, and one of the big ones that we have is the final or test for module 1 in our case, how are we going to measure, first of all, the time, like if they can access to the Google form and have it open for the whole day they can be, and they can have any other tabs open. So how can we control that? Do we have anything planned for that?
We cannot control the fact that students can open other tabs. That's something that we just can't. But there is an add-on on Google Forms that we can use to time for how long the form will be open, but not to avoid students opening other tabs. That's something that we cannot control, unfortunately.
Yeah, but in this case, it's like, as you mentioned, we have to put in the link for the evaluation into the weekly plan. So so we start accepting responses until the day we have it planned, or is it available like right away?
Let me show you an example very quickly. When this is an add-on that you can use. It's for free when you create forms. So this add-on, it's named Control Accepting Responses. So with this add-on, you can control when the form will be open. As you can see, it starts. So you can decide the date and the time when the form will be available, and the date and the time when the form will be stopped accepting responses. So for example, you can have the form start accepting responses, let's say tomorrow at 10 a.m., just to say, and it will stop accepting responses the same day on the 24th, let's say at 2 p.m.
Okay.
You click on save and implement, and this is gonna be active at that moment. So the name of the add-on is control as accepting responses. If you search it, you'll find it, and it's for free.
Okay, and now just another thing to clarify. If you go to the Google Classroom, I was able to see that you created some agenda for the week. You create that agenda, like how do you create those sections?
You click on this button that it says create. First, you are in the classwork section, which is the second option on the bar on the top. And then create, and you click on topics.
Oh, okay.
So topic is the section, let's say. And when you create an assignment, let's suppose a material, whatever it is, make sure that this material will fall into the topic where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, perfect. Everything clear for me.
Thank you. The chat, the forum. Yes, this is how you create a forum. while being on your drive, you click on the Google Apps icon in here. You click on chat. I'm gonna make this bigger. And then you click on this bar that it says find more rooms bots. And you click on the option create room. You give it a name to the room. Let's say level 3, for example. Group 25, create. Now there is a new classroom. And you just take the link from the address bar, you copy it, and then you paste it on your Google Classroom section, forum section, and that's it. After you create the room, you start adding your students. This is, as I understand, this is something that you do manually, one by one. Or, yeah, or, yeah. I think you can share the link with the students and they join automatically, right? Yes. All right. I don't know if this is clear now. Yep.
No, yeah, that part is clear. I have a question about the time. Are we going to spend 3 hours a day with the students available? I mean, what's our availability so we can clarify their questions under that forum?
Okay, Mr. Garcia. All of the questions regarding the CARSID program will be answered by Mr. Montenegro as soon as we finish the undergraduate parts. Right, Hope? Is that so?
That's
Mr.
right.
Montenegro? Yes, okay.
Before we pass on to call centers, I want to know if anybody else has questions about undergraduate.
I do have a question about the undergraduate program.
Okay.
Since this seems to be, like, well, it is something new and it's something that it's mandatory for all of us. And I think when I saw it, to be honest, the first thing that came to my mind was it's very repetitive. I might get confused. So how often are we going to receive feedback from you guys? And, like on a weekly basis to see if we're doing the things right? Because I understand that our payment depends on the compliance of this, like format or things to do here in Google Classroom. So I don't want to get any kind of problem at the end because I did not do the things I was supposed to do, and then like redo everything again or just work on that thing. So I just want you guys to tell me like, okay, we're gonna provide you feedback at the end of every, at Friday at 3 or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
So to have at least a date so we can know that we're receiving feedback and we can make any changes or amendment to the platform if needed.
It's a fair concern. I understand. I wouldn't wait until the end of the week. I believe all of us remember this. It's 20 of you and 3 of us. So we are going to be looking into your Google Classrooms. However, I would ask all of you for the following favor. If you have a doubt, if you're not sure about something, not right now, you will most likely have it when you are constructing this. Ask us, please text us, call us. Even if you don't come to campus, you can always reach us through the many ways. And what I can tell you is that once we report your hours so that you have peace of mind and that you feel okay, we can let you know. That way you can sleep okay at night and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sleep at night, that was a good one.
I do have a question on regarding all of these mandatory procedures. And I kind of know, okay, well, my question is, are students going to receive any type of training on how to use this? Because I don't know if all of our students know how this is going to work, but this is a lot of information. And if you're doing this with us teacher, that we are supposed to understand this, and we're still receiving this training, how are students supposed to know this? Are we going to give any type of training?
Yes,
You're the ones.
You are the chosen
You are the
ones.
chosen one. Woohoo! Now, I give you one idea because I am also teaching and I share your concerns. keep it simple. What students need to know, as Ms. Aleman said, what are the mandatory tabs they are supposed to take a look at. So just drive them through the Google Classroom part. In the classwork section, tell them that they should check the forum, the learning guides, and the learning activities, and that from the resources of the week, they can have access to the portfolio and the way to submit it. I know it sounds like relaxed the way I'm saying it, but it's just the same process we're living right now. If we as teachers are kind of on learning stuff right now, students will also do the same process. Just have that in mind. And as you have agreed with them, I guess some of you have already set a date for students to submit homework and tasks. Also, it would be healthy if you set a date for students to connect live as we're doing it right now and tell them, hey, this is what you are supposed to do. This is how you submit the homework. And these are the 3 things you have to pay attention to. And it might not sound as easy as I'm saying it, but until you do it, you'll know.
Something important to take into consideration, which is something that was instructed to us and to all schools, is that within the time of your class, let's say that your class is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 7 to 9, what teachers are going to do are to make themselves available at that time in like a classroom chat, maybe not in a live conference, but through chat, so that students feel that they have a time in which they can reach you, like a time that is meant for them and separate for them in case they have doubts, and so that they are not bombarding you 24/7 to your WhatsApp. So that's a rule that you could set. If you have questions for me, if you have anything to say aside from the video conference that we're going to do, you can always reach me during the time of the class to the chat room, or you can, because we have 20 of you, and I know that you guys have like what, 20 per group. Let's say some of you have 80 students, so maybe that is a way that you can control it, restrict it, so that they don't drive you crazy and they let you sleep too. You see, I'm very concerned about your sleeping hours.
Thank you.
Sorry, this is Mr. Techo. You mentioned, I think I skipped or missed this part of the information, but are we going to have video conference with our students
You will
at some point of the week?
What we require or request you to do, not require, is to have the middle session with them. So out of the 3 days of the week that you guys have class in your schedules, use the one in the middle, because that way you can discuss what you already assigned, the doubts that they may have at the moment, and you can also discuss what they will be doing in the following week, and also for evaluation and things that need visual contact between between you and your class.
Sorry,
So
hold
that
on. I have a
means,
question.
hold on a second. So that means that we're gonna devote basically one entire period to carry out or conduct any oral evaluations in the end.
Yes, that is. It could be more. It depends on you. This is not a straitjacket.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a question. I had already set up my class to be 1 hour today and 1 hour in the middle, so I can introduce the class. Would you recommend me to go through the 2 hours at once rather than that?
No, that's okay. Again, you are the master of your class. If that's the way you believe that you can dedicate 1 hour for full technicalities, and so that they can concentrate in the next hour just for the evaluation or whatever you have thought of, go ahead. I mean, again, we're all adjusting to the system. What we recommend is what I said, the middle class for it to be the contact point. But the truth is that whatever schedule you have with your students, that time is set apart for you. So they shouldn't have any excuses such as, oh, I have another class, I have another video conference. That is a moment that you can take advantage of. Have it be a conference, just texting, whichever.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I have a question.
Ask away.
In this week, I'm having evaluation. Actually, today we started with the writing task, right? So am I supposed to assign more like homework to do, or assignments to do, or tasks to students?
Wait, yeah, the all of this is per week.
I know. So, but to be honest, not all of them submitted the writing task on time, right? So they are like, Ryan, teacher, I'm sorry, I couldn't like wake up early and etc. Right? So all kind of excuses, even like a scorpion biting students, right? So, but the idea is, or the question is, actually tomorrow I'm having like the achievement test. I don't know the way I'm going to send them, if using the Wix platform or on a PDF format with the audio like attached.
What level are you teaching, sir?
Level 3. We finished Unit 2.
Okay.
Can I answer, Hope?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Yes, okay, as of now, I think that the fastest and the best way to proceed is by designing the test as we did the last time. That means that's something that we can do in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's already there, mister.
It's there.
Yep.
What do you mean? What do you mean there?
On the Macmillan platform, I designed the test for Unit 2.
Did you gather with other teachers to do so?
No, I was just trying to experiment there.
Well, way to go. But in order to have, you know, a test that is fair for everyone, we have to propose a test. So what we can do is we can take the test that you design and we will review it. We can make some adjustment and then we will share this PDF with the rest of the level 3 teachers. If they approve it, if they say that it's okay, we transfer the test either to a Google form or to the Wix, and the test will be ready in a blink of an eye. So that will happen today for level 5 and level 3. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, just let me know if I heard well. The thing is that are we having the achievement test today for the level 5 course?
No. Today we are going to agree on the content of the test, Mr. Vidal. And if we have an agreement, we can have the test ready to be applied. It could be tomorrow or on Wednesday.
Okay, because the thing is that this is week 6 for the semester, right?
That is correct.
Okay, that was my question.
Hello, guys. This is Jose Rodriguez. I have a question about that precisely. And my question is like, who is going to be in charge of monitoring or making sure that we are getting together to see what is going to go on the context for the test? For example, level 5, there are a bunch of teachers teaching level 5, level 1, and who's going to be like the monitor for that? Is it going to be you full-timers, or you're going to assign or appoint one of the teachers who are teaching that level to monitor?
Thank you, Mr.
And check on that?
Yes, it's a very good question. I think that we are going to use the same plan that we had before. Mrs. Rojas is in charge of level 1, and I am in charge, so to speak, of level 3 and 5. So, because, I mean, like we did the last time, instead of being physically together, we can definitely have a meeting online if you have the time sometime today, level 5 teachers and level 3 teachers, so we can rapidly and accurately choose the content of the test, so we can have it as a PDF and then transfer it to a Google form or to Wix. Level 5 teachers and level 3 teachers, do you think that could happen today? I hope so.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope so. You know that this take up to 20 minutes. It's not a intricate process whatsoever. So I think that's the answer, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, thank you. And well, I guess that's clear. Thank you very much, Mr.
You're welcome.
I would like to address some of the questions that are in the chat box. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Rivera asked, what exactly going to be the homework? What? I don't get it. What is the homework going to be graded? Well, I guess the pointing here is about homework. Like, I will repeat this part. Remember, students still have the open mind section, the open mind platform, in which you will be adding this to the grade chart that the Language Center has provided you with, as well the rest of the exercises that you assign students in the Google Classroom. Remember that we always put together whatever we have considered is necessary to assess their progress into this part of the homework, because it's not only the open mind one, but also independent studies and any other exercise we have taken into account as homework. I don't know if that answered the question that I was asking here. Another question I see posted is, when are we having the test for Unit 2 Level 1? Mrs. Gutierrez, that's a great question. We were supposed to meet last Thursday, but since since classes were canceled, we couldn't make it. I'm gonna try to have it ready today and send it to the Level 1 teachers and see if we can proceed just as with Level 3 and 5. And I would say tomorrow could be a good deadline to have the Level 1 for tests, achievement test. Another question I see, what will forum look like when we have mixed groups in Level 1? There are some real beginners as well as some good speakers and writers. That's a good question. I would say work with the ones that are lower, in the lower part of the A1 level. And you know that those that are advanced will give you more robust outcomes than the ones that are real beginners, though it's my personal suggestion. If someone else has a different idea, it's more than welcome, I would say.
There is another question down there that says, no more classroom quizzes. I'm not sure what classroom quizzes are. Pop quizzes, maybe? Yes, remember that you can do this through the classroom forums. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the classroom, or is it Google Classroom? I don't know. But yeah, the quizzes are always on board. Something else I know that Kayla asked before she left about the second cut. The second cut dates, so you just to remind everyone, are from the 20th to the 25th of April, which is after Holy Week, to record the second unit. So remember that in the second cut, what counts is the first and the second unit. So we have time for the achievement test. So I want to ask at this point, does anybody else from the undergraduate program have any other questions that they would like to ask right now?
Yes, I do. When is this supposed to be uploaded?
What?
This whole new setting, when should it be there?
Please start working on it now. Start planning this week with this new format. So yes?
When is the deadline for this one?
For you guys?
To have everything uploaded already.
Between today and tomorrow?
Between today and, okay.
Okay. If you have if you're struggling with anything, please let us know so that we can give you a hand.
Hope, hello, how are you?
Yes.
This is Jose Rodriguez again. Can we have it for, when is, today it's Monday. Can we have this a deadline for Wednesday? It's just that we're having a lot of meetings. Right after this meeting, I have to meet with Mender, then with Mr. Fabian. So everything seems to be like too much for the same day. And then start working on these today. I don't think I'm gonna be able to.
Okay, so how about Wednesday but morning? Not the
Sounds better.
Okay.
It sounds better.
Wednesday morning then, let's say 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say something, guys, before you, for undergraduate. If your students still have issues with accessing Macmillan, please tell them to send me an email. Give them my email, fabian.gonzalez@1.edu.ni, and let them to tell them to write to me with the issue so I can continue providing assistance, and copy everyone as usual. Thanks.
Yes, for troubleshooting, please contact Fabian Gonzalez.
Yep. Is that it, Hope?
I wonder if, guys, is that it? Do you have other questions, doubts? No?
Not for the moment. I think that we are going to have a question later on. So we're going to contact you individually probably.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so
hello.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Sorry. I have a question here. My internet is just a little faulty, but I was able to join the conference just a few minutes after it began. I would like to know if there's a possibility to like recap on the design of the page. I mean, because I didn't get to see that part. I mean,
Okay, so Mr. Rodriguez, what's going to happen is that from this point on, I think that Mr. Montenegro and Miss, oh my God, Calderon will stay with you. So everybody else from the undergraduate program, if you do not have any other questions, thank you. Please let us know, contact us personally, and we will give you a hand. Everybody who is from the call center program, please stay tuned for Mr. Montenegro and Miss Chavez. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
No te vuelvas a caer porque eso es que te digo yo. La última vez que te vuelvas a caer, te saco.
RCP teachers, please stay here. Don't go.
Hey there.
Hi there. How are you? Okay. So now we're gonna have the meeting only with CARSIP teachers. Okay.
Right.
Maynard, can we just take like 3 minutes to go to a restroom, drink some water, or do something, please?
Sounds really good to me. I agree with you, Esteban.
Okay, thank you.
5 minutes, actually. Let's say 5 minutes to drink something, okay? All right?
Okay.
Don't,